Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom.
Frustrated seeing how much YouTube keeps growing year after year with no signs of slowing.
Well, shalom, shalom. Greetings, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Like and share the page. It's been a minute since I've been live. But hallelujah to everyone that's jumping on and tuning in. My guest will be on here in just a minute. He's pretty much not a guest anymore. He's been on the platform a couple of times. And so we're gonna get to it. We talked about some of the things that's been going on since the 7th of October. We've been talking about that the past almost 2 years now with Rabbi Dovid. And he's been on here, has been on this platform, and some of these things that's been discussed and talked about that you see what's going on in the news. These things have been subjects and conversations of things that have now started to transpire publicly. And so, you've been hearing murmurs for quite some time and things and rumors and things like that. But, getting a chance now to see how these things manifest. What's up, skinny man? What's going on? Yah son, what's going on with you as well? Shalom to you as well, Yah son, skinny man. We doing a check-in. What's going on? Who all we got out there? Who all we got out there? All right, who all do we have out there? Who all do we have out there? All right, who all do we have out there? All right, we're gonna get into it here in just a minute. My guest is here, and you're talking about right before time, on time. Good morning, Ifo. Good morning. Shalom to you as well, Ifo Kosi. And everyone that's out up this morning, Boker Tov to you all. I hope everyone is doing well. We have a lot going on, a lot to talk about. The guest is here, and it's definitely a awesome time that the Most High has baruched us this morning to have this discussion and be able to talk. Hey, good morning. You got to unmute yourself.
Hello.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm sorry. Rabbi Weiss is behind. Like he'll be here in 5 minutes.
Okay. Everything good?
Yes, yes.
All right. So I'll just once he gets here and gets on and everything like that, is there anything you wanted to say before he gets started? Anything like that?
No, that's fine. I appreciate you having Rabbi Weiss, and we hope that this is a successful meeting.
Yeah, he's been on a couple of times, and he's kind of one of the. I've had several rabbis on. He's been kind of the favorite out of them all because of his stance and things like that. So it's been a joy having a conversation with him from the first time until the last couple. So I know with everything that's been going on since last month, these are things we kind of talked about almost 2 years ago. And seeing them manifest is something interesting.
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm gonna probably play a couple of videos here, and once he gets here, then we'll be ready to go.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, brothers and sisters. So everything is going well. We are waiting on Rabbi Weiss to come in. And so I'm gonna share a couple of videos, something I want to play here, just kind of a video of his. And we'll wait for him to come in. So let me share my screen, and we'll get into the conversation from here.
As we see this last Saturday, it was shocking to the world, but the world doesn't seem to take in regard the 75 years that every day almost you have Palestinian death and suffering. But we as Jews do take this into consideration. It's not how I personally look at this. It's how, as a Jew who's observant, who's following the rules of the Judaism, of the Torah, Judaism is subservience to God. That's what it's all about. It's a religion of 3,000 years, while Zionism is a mere 150 years. It's a transformation to nationalism, to have a piece of land. It's a political movement. It's a materialistic movement. It was started by Jews who were non-religious, and they're simply incorporating, using the name Israel, using the Star of David, and claiming that it's a God, it's given to them by God. And we who are following the Torah, who are true to the Torah, stand up adamantly refuting what they're saying. The Torah clearly states that we shall not kill, we shall not steal, and the whole concept is strange, is totally antithetical to our teachings, contradictory. The Jewish community had been living together with the Muslim community and the Christian community, and since this movement started, and since they gained hold in the land and eventually got rule over the land, there's been endless bloodshed. There's hate that has grown thousandfold. It's a wedge driven between the Jews and the Muslims, and it's brought death and suffering to the Palestinian people in the majority, but to the Jewish populace also. As we see this last Saturday, it was shocking to the world, but the world doesn't seem to take in regard the 75 years that every day almost you have Palestinian death and suffering. But we as Jews do take this into consideration. We say this is clearly a rebellion against God, and it hurts us more than usual because it's being done in our name. And the rabbis you are seeing, the power bases that you are seeing in the settlements that is fringe to the Jewish communities, those are the ones who bought into this tale that it's God's wish. But the central part of Judaism, the very religious, in whatever country, maybe in Argentina, the very religious says, no, we're dead set against this. We cry with the Palestinians. And therefore, what's happening today in Gaza, that they're bombing them relentlessly, and they're pointing and they're accusing them of being animals. It's even hard to repeat, and whatever they say of them, of being terrorists, it's not. It's all to cover their totally illegitimate occupation. And to that, I'll bring a simple proof. We lived together the Jewish community for hundreds of years in Palestine, in Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Iran, in all the countries we lived and flourished as religious Jews amongst religious Muslims without any human rights groups to protect us. We always lived together. We babysat each other's children, even though we have a distinctly different religion, and it was never a cause of animosity. All that changed is the introduction of Zionism, the control of the land. And since that came, which is not 1948, it's in the 1890s or so, and they started coming in and taking over the lands. Since then, there's death and suffering, the Palestinians and of the Jews, because they are creating this fear, this hate, this estrangement. We can show many pictures how the Jews live together. Anybody old Arab will tell you, and every old Jew, how we used to babysit each other's children, like I say, and help each other. And I've had many stories of people will tell us. So it's clearly what these Ben Gvir and these other people are saying. They are coming from Mizrahi. That is that segment that is religious Zionists, but not the central, what we call the Eid Chorei, this God-fearing community, and around the world. We stand in total opposition, and it hurts us, and we have no words for the suffering, the Palestinians. That's why we came out, let's even today. Yes, we go out in tens of thousands, but we would have hundreds of thousands demonstrating constantly, but the fear of the repercussions from the Zionists, because they're vicious. We went out, 2 days ago to Manhattan. We demonstrated. I came back, the tar cars were slashed, the mirrors were broken. This is nothing to what they threat. They have death threats, and in Jerusalem and Al-Quds and in the other parts of occupied Palestine, they people get killed and arrested and so forth. So there's a reason why there's less of a voice that you will hear, even though our communities are full in opposition to Zionism. And we plead with the leaders today. It's very scary what today we are seeing. And there's assembled 300,000 soldiers at the gates of Gaza, and it's and of course the bombing there, and it's heartrending. There's no words, and we can only again plead with the world leaders and demand that this injustice, this criminality, this suffering of the Palestinian people has to be addressed. It must be stopped. One day this will end. It's against God, and we as Jews are crying and hurting with them and praying for them, and we go out tirelessly. Some of us go out all the time. I mean, we're doing this for years, and many of others. There's demonstrations in the front of the UN, and therefore we're going out. A lot of the media doesn't cover it because they know that they will be accused of being anti-Semitic. But we try. We hope that with God's help, that with His compassion, that He will free them, and ultimately with a totally free Palestine, we as Jews will be able to show our tremendous gratification for the fact that we were embraced and taken in when we suffered in Europe. We went through crusades, inquisitions. It was the Muslim countries that took us in, and we flourished there. So we should be able to show again our gratefulness, and not to watch how they're being vilified. We hope it will happen soon in our days, and we apologize that what's being done in the name of Judaism.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you all. My guest is here. Well, I can't even really call him a guest anymore. He's been on my platform a couple of times. And it was about 2 years ago when he first came onto the platform. And I've had several rabbis on my platform. And he's up there with probably up there with the most favorable of the rabbis that has been on this platform. So without further ado, Boker Tov, good morning to you all who are tuning in, as well as Rabbi Weiss here. Good morning, sir. How you doing? You on mute. You got to unmute yourself.
How are we doing?
There you go. There you go.
Yes, so thank you for that. I'm humbled by your introduction, and yes, it is an honor and privilege to be on your show, and we really hope, inshallah, with God's help, that we will be able to accomplish. The word will get out, and we will be a catalyst, the beginning that we should be able to stop this horrendous massacre and eventually attain, with God's help, a free Palestine.
Yeah, and it's amazing. You know, we don't have to get into the preliminaries of everything. We've already been down that road of who you are, where you come from, your family, where you live, the community that you're part of, as far as within the Jewish community there in New York. And I guess let's just dive on into it. We had this discussion, at least about 2 years ago, just kind of things that was going on within Palestine, some of the things that weren't talked about in the media, and there was a lot of things you shared, blowed a lot of people away on this platform with a lot of information that's on your website that you have, and things that happened in 1948 and things like that. What has it been like since last month with everything going on with the attack? And I first want to just say this to everyone out there. None of us on this platform, okay, whether it's myself, Dr. Brown, as well as Rabbi Weiss, none of us are campaigning or in support of anyone taking anyone's life. We're not supporting, we're not by default supporting Hamas or anything of that nature. We just believe what Scripture says when it comes down to dealing with the land of Israel and what should happen, and when we were go, and all these great things like that. So I wanted to put that out there first for anybody, try to chop this video up and say, because we've had people to try to give me a choice, and I'm going to get into that later in conversation with Rabbi here. What has it been like since that, or actually, where were you when you heard about the attack?
Well, if you know, this attack happened, it was right after the day, the October 7th, on the 1,400 people that were murdered. That happened on, we call Simchas Torah. It was our holiday. It was the end of a series of the high holiday by the Jewish people, the beginning of the year, and then there's a series of high holidays. So it was part of our holiday, which we have no connection basically with the outer world, because we don't use even telephones on then, or things like, so we don't have anything with electric. So we just became aware of this, first on the attack after the beginning. Now, so that's where we were. We were in our homes, in our synagogues, and so forth. And we saw slowly was trickling in that first the attack, that the 1,400 people were killed. Now, as a Jew, our response was right away, yep, this is what happens. Now, we're not condoning violence, as he said. Not that I have against the organization, Hamas, which happened to be voted in. And I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for myself. Let's be very clear. In fact, we, as Jewish people, we try to constantly stress and establish, we are a religion. We are not a political issue, but so we go to all the leaders of the world, especially in the Muslim world. We were invited by the Grand Mufti of Al-Azhar in Egypt, when the United States moved the embassy to Jerusalem, and they had they just had a mass conference from 150, even maybe more, I believe, countries that came together, religious leaders and so forth, and they called us to give our message and to be part of this movement, that we should be to express what our views are. And the same thing, that was the Sunni Muslim, and the Shiites in Lebanon had the same thing. They had a tremendously large meeting of close to 170 people from 170 countries, not 170 people from 170 countries. The leader, religious authorities and political authorities also, and they came, and it was really at the head at this meeting, like at the end, there was Hezbollah came. So and they met, and even there was a Wikipedia on me, who I am, which is full of for things that are untrue. But basically, they write about that how I gave a present for the head of Hezbollah there, and the second, what really was there, that was the second highest representative of Hezbollah came, and he stood on stage. And we held hands, and he said, we want you to know we are not against Jews. We want you to know we have no problem with Jews. We have only a problem with the occupation. Now, again, we're not condoning violence. We're not talking about that. Mm-hmm. We went to Gaza as Jews. And first, when they made the PLO, which was the first representatives of the Palestinian Authority, we had a rabbi who became the representative in the Palestinian Authority. And they happened to be that the Zionists, he lived in Jerusalem and Al-Quds, and the Zionists threw acid in his eyes, and he became blind in one eye, was only able to see from the other. When the attacks were afterwards in Lebanon, that massacre in Sabra Shaltila, if anybody remembers, when the Zionists took control, and then they sent the Christian against the Muslim. There was an attack in Sabra Shaltila, and at that time, which was under the auspices of the Zionist control, and that's why Sharon was a war criminal, they said, and so forth. And it's a whole story about when Israel was in control. There was a mass murder there in Lebanon. At that time, we had still Jewish communities there in Lebanon, and Yasser Arafat, the president, who was the head of the PLO, sent, without any advertisements, he sent his soldiers to protect the synagogue. And nobody talks about that, mind you. He sent in Lebanon to protect us. Just interesting. Here we went to in Gaza. We went a few times. We brought medical aid because just to show. Of course, it's a pittance what they need, but it was just to show our sympathy, our support. And here we're meeting with the prime minister of Hamas, who was the head of at that time, and they're not anymore. And here we presented the medical aid. He presented us with a beautiful picture of Palestine, whatever. And he also professed and clearly declared unabashedly for all his people, and nobody had anything to say against this, that he is not against, not him and not the government and not the people of Palestine, or against the Jewish people. Here's meeting with President.
So this is the leader of Hamas here?
Yeah, and he says he's like brothers to us. I mean, we meet with him constantly when he comes to the United Nations, and he says, so we're not political. So I may not agree with the two states. I don't agree with two states because we say Jewish people are not allowed to have 1 inch of occupation. But basically, we're here to express, and everybody is our friends, to express that we are in total support and agree that the occupation is unjust. It's not 1 inch are the Jewish people allowed to take over the land of another people. A Jewish person is, as we've explained, Judaism is a religion of 3,000 years. Our 2,000 years ago, our temple was destroyed, and we were put into exile by God because we're not on that level of holiness to be. That was supposed to be, and we know we were a decree of God that we are not to reestablish a Jewish state. Of course, the Jewish state has nothing to do with Zionism, which is not only it's not a Jewish state. I would call it the state of the Satan. It's they proudly declare they don't uphold the Torah. They're a democracy. You don't have to keep Sabbath. They don't.
Wait, hold on, Rabbi. Slow down. Let's slow down here. When you get going, you get to spewing a lot of information that's very valuable. So you made a statement about a couple of minutes ago about that that Jews are not supposed to take the land of someone else.
100%.
So when we have this conversation about that, could you talk about what does that mean? So are you saying that the Jews encroached on someone else's land and made it their own? Is that what you're saying?
100%. Now, when we say the Jews, they were born from Jewish mothers,
maybe. Right. I got you.
Technically, but I mean, when I carry this picture just to show the Declaration of Independence in 1947 by David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister, reading the Declaration of Independence in 1948 in the Independence Hall. That's when it was ratified by the United Nations, and you can see that it's a so-called Jewish state. They made using the Star of David and so forth. But look at the Hedayas. You see people totally not religious. Nobody's covering their heads. These are a bunch of rebels against God, and yet they're declaring a Jewish state. It is so preposterous. It is so ridiculous. It is so ironic and hurtful that they're using the name of Judaism when all the rabbis, all the rabbinical authorities pleaded with the with the people who are doing this. They said, "How dare you come in our name when the Torah says that for 2,000 years already that we're not to create anything that has the name of Jewish on it because it's exile decreed by God." And on top of that, so in other words, even if it would have been in an empty land and uninhabited, we would oppose it. But to create that state by taking over the country, the land, the towns, they destroyed over 400 villages, many more, and just oppressing and the constant killing and what they're doing in the name of my religion. Woe is to us, that's what they pleaded with them. This is in all our writings, which we plead when they try to make the state. The chief rabbi of Palestine pleaded with the United Nations. It's the United Nations documents. When I say the chief rabbi, that's not to be confused with the rabbinate, the Israeli, just like they used the Star of David, they made a rabbinate and a chief rabbi for window dressing in order to intimidate others. But here, the chief rabbi of our communities said, "We furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine." End of sentence. Declaration before the United Nations in July 16, 1947. It's United Nations documents. He was the chief rabbi. And our whole communities, tens and hundreds of, today it's hundreds of thousands, then there was the smaller Jewish community. Here you see that when he passed on, the next chief rabbi, you see tens of thousands just waiting, taking up the next rabbis of us. And of course, and here in New York, when we actually, this is in Washington, D.C., we went up demonstrating against Netanyahu. The very religious community says it's not Judaism. It's just simply not Judaism. It's nationalism. They take the Jewish religion, they gut it out from inside. They're using the facade of Judaism. It's an ersatz, like a transformation to nationalism, and they want to use it for convenience. That if anybody stands up and says, "Hey, what are you guys doing there?" They'll say, "Hey, you're an anti-Semite."
Man.
That's exactly what they're doing. So, and by the way, when we say, when they call anti-Semite, it's so ironic. And really, let's think this: the Muslim Arab people call it the Nakba, the colossal catastrophe. But let's think what's happening here. Jews lived together. They lived together for hundreds of years. Jews lived in Palestine. They lived in every Arab country. We flourished in every Arab country. As I showed you a picture of Lebanon. We lived in Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, in Iran. In every country, we lived and flourished. There was never a problem of coexistence with Muslims, even though we have a distinctly different religion. They come along, and since then, there is hate, death, oppression. Not only the Palestinian people, but the Jewish people. We stand up, we demonstrate. Here it says, "Stop Zionist terrorist massacre in Gaza." This is in Jerusalem. What happened?
Yeah, I want to get to that too. I want to talk about that. We'll get to that conversation about Palestine and the whole protest
but
in America.
Yes, I'm saying, but one thing is clear: the Jewish community never will accept some other type of thing for our religion. This is not our religion. Our religion is to be subservient to God and serve Him. And like I say, since they've come about, there is just death and more death and more death. But also Jews, besides the ones that they assassinated from our rabbis, but people who are trying to support their movement because they fell into the trap of their propaganda. So nobody could refute that 75 years has brought thousands of people dying, mostly the Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim, but also Jews because of their cause. So they are the cause, purely the cause of death. So who is anti-Semitic? They are anti-Semitic. They are the ones who are the epitome, the essence, and the personification of anti-Semitism. And they cause hate of Jews around the world who look at us as we're the perpetrators of that crime. When we saw what happened, the attack on Gaza right away. So first our hearts started crying. What are they going to? We said right away after the 1400. We said, what is he going to do? He's not going to turn around and say, look, this plan that we tried for 75 years is a colossal failure. He's not going to say that. and try to see how he can bring peace, he's going to attack them. We know because he has a history. So what do? They attacked Gaza. We started shaking with fear. What is going to be the next day? And of course, it gets worse day by day by day by day. This mass murder. There's people who are sitting in pain, excruciating pain, and lying on floors and gurneys and hallways in hospitals. What is left of the hospitals? I mean, what was our reaction? Our reaction was fear and prayer to God. We right away said we have to pray to God that this shouldn't bring what is actually happening today. So we cry, we hurt with the Palestinian people. It's not our religion. It's not the Jews who are true to our religion. This is a movement of evil. It's from the Satan. It's just that that is what it is. Nothing more.
Let me ask you this question. Just kind of lambacking off of something that you said. We say lamback instead of piggyback. So I just want to know. But you made a statement about it being not true religion and not religion from the Almighty. And you made a statement. You said that in Israel today, there's really no standard of even keeping Torah. If we're supposed to keep Torah in that aspect, but yet it's like optional, is that it? Was that what you're saying? Even today?
They proudly announce that they are the sole democracy in the Middle East, or something of that nature, which is also, I mean, on its face ridiculous, because they're to select few, they're a democracy, but whatever it may be. But how dare they announce that it's a Jewish state and it's a democracy, meaning that you don't have to uphold the religion, and you can go in Tel Aviv and all these cities with cars are going and coming. And even now with that murder, that 1,400 people, they were making a rave on the holiday.
I heard about that. Yep.
I mean, what are we talking about here? The whole country is alive and beating against the will of God constantly. I mean, how dare they? If you're calling the Jewish state, have respect. And that's beside the fact that in the very religious quarters, they constantly try to break the backbone of that religious quarters. They try to put in what is it called, like an Olympic center with the swimming pools, and right in the center near Meir Sharm, that they should be full of immodesty and things that will really hurt the religious communities, because we have issues of modesty, of morality, and they decided to make the LBGT whatever march right in the center of the Jew. And then when Jews said, this is not, it's unacceptable, I asked. So they said, oh, you people are just intolerant, you know.
Wait a minute,
in the world they announced that, oh, we are the home of the three religions, and everybody should come. And that is, in other words, the respect for the religions and so on. And yet,
religious tolerance.
God, this is what they do. You know, they try to break. They are hypocritical, but they don't have the morality of God, because this is not a new creation of a Jewish state or a type of Jewish state. It's an evil that's masquerading in the name of Judaism for its convenience, that people should be intimidated, that the evangelistic Christians around the world and the Jews who don't know their religion should support them. It's nothing more, nothing less. They have nothing with God, absolutely nothing with God.
Yeah, so they're promoting, every year we see it all the time, this heavily promotion of LGBT. It's in Tel Aviv, like it's like one of the biggest, LGBTQ community, celebrations in the world. Like, what? This is supposed to be the Holy Land, right? Like, what's going on with all this? And so, go ahead. You're about to say something.
I'm saying, we're not getting into this the issues of all, but they're doing it in the name that claim to be Jewish. We're just trying to show how patently false and hypocritical, and that it's not that. And at the same time, they have no respect for other people because they're using their movement. We're not getting into if a person, his feelings in his heart. Of course, we're not allowed to carry out actions that are against the Torah, gay, whatever. But if they have in their hearts, we're not beating down the person who has in his heart issues. Again, we're not allowed to carry out these issues. He has in his heart. He has to better whatever it is. But to do that and try to make their marches right in the center of the religious communities, and totally non-respectful and hurting the Jews, and then to attack these Jews as intolerant, and in everything they do is flagrantly against God and trying to break the laws of God and trying to and just simply trying to create their selfish conception of what they want to state their nationalism that they want to create by a few selfish people that made it. They try to incorporate religion, put on a facade of religion, making rabbis and chief rabbis, and they put on this. They roll their eyes and they say, "Oh, God gave us the land." Netanyahu is constantly referring to the Bible, constantly using it as actually a weapon to silence others. It's so clearly not what Judaism is. It's so clearly against, and yet the world is unfortunately going a lockstep and buying what they're saying, and in that manner, unfortunately, bringing to the terrible tragedy, the Nakba, on the people of Palestine and the people of Gaza now, that is beyond any human comprehension how this could be done. Now it's a month. It's over a month now, and the world is giving them the permission, basically, that they could carry on this mass slaughter. And I just like a simple example: if a person committed a murder, we committed a mass murder, and he runs into a school where there's 1,000 children. He runs into the schoolyard. Which normal country, any leadership, which normal somehow you would call a respected community, a respected leadership, a respected anything, would give the permission or would carry out a bombing of that schoolyard with 1,000 children because amongst them is a mass murder. I mean, it's beyond any simple base logic of a human being with the godly given intelligence that God gave. So we say it's an insult to the intelligence of the world that they're simply saying, yes, that they have the right to bomb and do what they're doing. And they say, they should limit it, they should allow in little medical aid. Some people are saying, but how can they allow this? They should insist with the most stringent words that they have to cease and desist. This is unacceptable. We're talking about over 10,000 deaths, 3,000 children, and people are blind with burns. They don't have any anesthesia. They don't have medication. I mean, again, we don't have this, everybody's talking about this. It's beyond words. The UN, their own representatives, they all were killed. I don't know the number already, how many were murdered over there. Yeah. And this is how come the UN is not standing up? So we say it's the works of Satan. It defies logic that they could ratify the state of a minority should control a majority, that they allow this going on could only be the works of Satan. And we have to plead, because it's apartheid was stopped by the grassroots, who put so much pressure on the politicians that they stopped. We're not going to try to get into the minds of the politicians, but we know that we have to stand up tirelessly and not be intimidated that I'm called the self-hating Jew or others are called anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Semitism, and you can take courage and strength by looking at the very religious communities, whether it's in Canada, whether it's in the United States, in New York, whether it's in Palestine, in Mea Shearim, in Al-Quds, in Jerusalem. The very religious say clearly that this is totally nothing to do with Judaism. It's against Judaism. It's forbidden according to Judaism, both the occupation, the oppression, the killing, and the existence of the state. So don't be fearful of being attacked as anti-Semitic. I mean, it's easy to say.
Hold on, Rabbi, hold on. Let's run that back. You said, and I hope all of my listeners, y'all listening to this, and this is not a license to go out and just act a fool and act crazy. Okay, I just really want y'all to hear what I want to stress some emphasis on what he's saying. He just made a statement and he said, "Don't be afraid to be called an anti-Semite." Now, that does not mean, we got to clear this up.
Right, yeah.
They'll take a run and say, "Oh, they promoting you can go out and act violently." No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is speaking truth regarding certain principles, especially if you believe in the Torah, you believe in the words of the prophets and all the Old Testament, or I don't even like to call it that, but the Tanakh. If you believe in that, you stand on that truth, declare the truth of what's going on. But that's not a license to just go out here and act like somebody that don't have any sense.
Of course. Yeah, what we're trying to say is because unfortunately the Zionists, they're very skillful in what they do, but what they are, when anybody dares raise their voice against the state, they immediately viciously attack them as being anti-Semitic, so anybody starts showing sympathy for the Zion for the Palestinian suffering, right away say, "Oh, because they hate the Jews, they're anti-Semitic," and they make them crawl on their hands and knees, to apologize if they said a word. Now that's what we're talking. Of course. I mean, you mentioned, I'm sure, like you said, my grandparents died were killed in Auschwitz. My father escaped when the Nazis came into Hungary. We know what it means, anti-Semitism, because they said they wanted to root out, kill every Jew that exists. They didn't let us escape. They didn't. The Nazis were out to eradicate Jewish people from the face of the earth. So we know the suffering. We don't want anti-Semitism, obviously, but that was our communities were beautiful communities. My father's in Hungary, God-fearing, and they just simply killed them because they were Jewish. Here we're not talking about that. Here we're talking about that somebody should stand up and say that these people, they may come from Jews, but what they're doing is nothing to do with God, nothing to do with Judaism. We're talking about standing up for godliness, for righteousness, and to stand up for the Jewish people, that they should not be considered part of this terrible crime. That's exactly what you said so elegantly. We're not talking about, God forbid, we're saying people could be anti-Semitic and say they're not anti-Semitic or to hate Jews. In fact, that's what we're pleading. Differentiate between Judaism and Zionism, differentiate between Jews, and don't say the Jews are doing this, because you fall into the trap. Netanyahu wants you to refer to them and say, "Oh, the Jews attacked Gaza." No. The Zionists, maybe they're Jewish, maybe they came from Jews, but they're not Jewish. They're not practicing the religion. They're not Jewish today. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. And they have the ADL, Anti-Defamation League, who listed us as the 10 worst evil people.
Hold on. Pump the brakes stuff. Hold on. Now, I didn't know this. I did not know that. So the ADL put y'all on the list too?
Yeah, sure. And we are the greatest threat. We are the greatest threat because we reveal to the world that the rabbis around the world, we put out a book called The Rabbis Speak Out. This is a compilation of the greatest Torah.
Is that on Amazon? Is that on Amazon?
I know it's able to get it by our site, by
Okay, cool.
I'm not sure exactly. I don't take care of all the technical things, but this is a compilation. We have tens of thousands of rabbis around the world from 100 years ago. This is 130 years of the compilation of the leading authorities of Judaism. Judaism is a religion. The leading authorities, everyone in their style, spoke out against Zionism before the state even. In other words, here I have a statement of Rabbi Yisrael Meir Cohen. He was in Radin, that's in Lithuania, I believe, and he's a codifier of Jewish law. Everybody in Judaism who knows their religion knows this person because we use his law books as a codifier of Jewish law. And he said, imagine, he passed away in 1933, so he was before the state, but he was after when Zionism was flourishing already in Europe. Wow. He said,
I got to get that book, Rabbi. I got to go on the website and get that book.
Yeah, he said the Zionists are dead limbs of our people, which causes the entire body to rot. In other words, it's like you put something rotten in a barrel of apple, it'll make the whole thing rotten. That's just an example of one of the many we had leaders from European countries, from Middle Eastern countries, from Palestine. They're all there. The leading authorities, each one in their style, spoke up against Zionism. So how could it be anti-Semitic to speak up against this when the Torah authorities are pleading with everybody? This is not Judaism; it's a nationalist movement. I mean, you don't have to be the greatest mind to understand that this is a nationalist movement. They're not in any way respecting the Torah. Yet, when it comes to the issue of Palestine, all of a sudden they're saying they represent Judaism, and the Palestinians want to hate the Jews. Where did they come to use the name Judaism and then say the Palestinians, who are our friends, we live together? All of a sudden, our haters. So many beautiful stories, anecdotes from people. I hear daily. We hear from people from the Arab community how we, before the state, and how we used to always live together and help each other. And I could tell you story upon story about, babysat each other's children. I always use an example. Or I just yesterday was on somebody in Scotland, said, he interviewed me, and he said, I got to tell you something. He said, my father came to Scotland way back, and he said he was from Pakistan, so his skin was darker, and he said he tried to do business. And he wanted to start a shoe business, and he went to the wholesale factories. Nobody wanted to give him shoes. And a Jewish guy saw him going back and forth, and he told me the name. He said he believes it was Alan Steinberg. That's what he believed the name was. And he said, this guy saw him going from wholesale to wholesale. So he said, hey, what are you looking for here? So he said, I want to make a business. Nobody wants to sell them. So he said, I'm Jewish. He said, I had the same problem when I started way back when. He said, I'm going to help you. Tell me what shoes you want. Pick whatever you like. I'll pay for it. I'll buy it. You don't even have to pay me. He said, when you sell the shoes, then you'll pay me back the cost, what it cost me. And he said, and if you won't sell it, bring me back the shoes. I'll take care of it. He said, and he put him on his feet. He said every month he would give him a check to whatever he trusted the Jewish person. He made out whatever it was, the cost price of his thing. And he said, I'll tell you exactly the way he said. He said, the Jewish guy said, if you want, you'll give me 5%. If you want, everything's okay. He let him take care of everything. He sold his shoes. He got a business of a shoe store. This person who interviewed me, said he grew up in this shoe store. So he said that was the life that they had together, Jews and Muslims across the board. That's what our Torah says to us: help a person, and especially show gratitude. The Muslim countries were especially good to us. They took us in when we were being oppressed, or when we were being persecuted in Europe, whether it was the Crusades, the Inquisition, throughout history. They tried to forcefully convert Jews to Christianity. They burnt them at the stake. I mean, it's all there. That nobody can refute this. They banished them from lands. It was the Arab and Muslim lands, including the Ottoman Empire, and in Palestine, the Jews were taken in and embraced, and we flourished. How dare the Zionists come with this narrative that the Muslims hate the Jews, the Palestinians hate the Jews. And like I say, till today, I go to every Arab country. I just met with the Iranian president. He was in New York. Iran is always vilified. The Ayatollah Khomeini, when he started Islamic Republic of Iran, he made big statements, and they have it on the walls, big statements. He said, we're not against Jews or Jewish people. They're against the occupation. That's why the Zionists hate them so much, because they undermine their whole reason for existence. They hate the Ture Karta, our communities, the anti-Zionist communities, because we make their whole purpose of existence irrelevant and not necessary. And we show that all they're doing is causing death, more hate. They exacerbate anti-Semitism around the world, and they cause death, and they are the hands behind the death of 1,400 people on October 7th, and of course directly they're bombing the people in Gaza. It's unacceptable. Somehow, I wish your podcast can break all the walls and have the people here and stand up and say, what are we, crazy? We're going along with this. Just like after apartheid, nobody today would accept that black people should be in the back the apartheid,
Mhm.
is illogical. And
That's
yet,
right.
and these people said they were God-fearing. The people of South Africa went to church and they said they're God-fearing, and it went on for year in and year out. And they considered themselves respectable, and they were respected in the United Nations. And the ones who stood up against them were put in prison and were called terrorists. So, I mean, someday people are going to wake up. They're going to look back at this time in history and they're going to say, "What did we do? What were we nuts?" You
So
know?
did you? So I know you talked about after the protest recently, your tires were slashed and cars and different things like that. I guess you probably would be, you guys would probably be, since especially that that's bad. That's a trip. I was surprised by the ADL thing. Has there been, because you guys are unapologetically on the streets in America. Now, most people in America, their whole mindset is fueled based off what they see in the media. A lot of this stuff that I've been seeing, especially with you guys out protesting and doing things like that, they don't cover the positive side of the protest, where you see Jews and Palestinians and you see them protesting together. The narrative is that every Jew believes in and supports the war. They're not showing you guys on that. You know how we see what you guys are doing? Through social media, but not the media.
That's right.
And so that was another reason. So I was given an ultimatum recently. Basically, I was given an ultimatum by some Jews that I know, that I have relationship with for quite some time. And it came to the point where they asked, well, what side am I standing on? Because when everything popped off and everybody got emotional, all of a sudden you have a lot of different other Jews running around, especially those who keep Torah, running around saying, hey, what side do you stand on? I don't see you protesting enough on your social media for against Palestine. And this ultimatum came up, and I'm trying to understand, if you don't support, or if you say, I don't support people dying, I support praying to the Almighty or the Most High. And all of a sudden, when you make those statements, it's, oh, you support Hamas by default. What is going on with that? What's up? Can you explain what is up with this?
Well, that's, you have to understand, like we could say, somebody could be evil, but that doesn't mean that he's not efficient. He could be doing his evil with efficiency. It doesn't mean he's a fool. He is a fool for doing bad, but he could be very efficient and sly and successful in what they're doing. And we believe, like I say, there's a God on the world, and God created a Satan that gives a person a test through his life, which you pick good or bad, pick good and constantly. And throughout history, it was like that. So the Zionists, in order to gain acceptance, in order to gain and to really silence and any opposition to what they're doing, they use different talking points. They use different approaches. They have everybody knows they have an endless well of money. They get billions of dollars in support, and they use this money to pay for the most expensive public relations companies, and they create lobbying forces like AIPAC, American Israeli Political Alliance Committee, where they watch carefully. They have something called Media Watch. They watch every newspaper, every news outlet. If they find that they're starting to talk too sympathetically about the Palestinians or something, they right away contact
everybody. I want y'all to listen to what he's saying. I want everybody to pay attention to what he's about to reveal. Go ahead.
And and there's even like a congressman who's called Congressman Finley. He put out a book. You can Google Finley. His name was. I don't remember his first name right at this moment, but he put out a book about the fact that he was a 5-time incumbent. He had been in the Congress for 5 terms, and then he spoke something sympathetically for Palestinians. And there's been others like him. and he was viciously attacked by the Zionists. That he went and they took somebody who was a no-name and they ran him against him in the next elections, and he lost the next election. And every person knows, every politician in the back of their mind knows that if they will speak sympathetically for the Palestinians, they're committing political suicide. The media knows. I've met through many years, thank God, that I'm doing what I'm doing. God should give me long, healthy years I could continue doing. I met with many of the major media outlets. I'll give just an example. I was in the United Nations. We go many times to speak for Palestine, and we went and they have a building, just like basically a section for the media. And I went to Canadian Broadcasting, and the reporters all came, we met, and they spoke to me, and they were very, very intrigued and interested. And we showed them documents. We showed them it's all how based and how clearly, and they see the facts. The Jewish communities, the very religious, are anti-Zionist. And while I'm talking, they said, you should just know, I hope we're not taking your time, they said, because they said, I want you to know, we're asking because we're interested. We're asking, we're intrigued, but you should just know, we're not going to be able to report what we're hearing from you. Because it's going to be edited out, because they told me the five different newspaper things, it's all like under one network, one thing, and they're under Zionist ownership or Zionist pressure, tremendous pressure of Zionism. The New York Times, I had articles with everything, and it was edited out. They had everything, all the major newspapers, they have a tremendous amount of power or intimidation. They're very careful, and they have money to pay for to have people stand there and watch. That if they'll find that you didn't cross the T's or dot the I's, you made one mistake in an article, they'll make such trouble for that person that the guy's going to say, look, it's not worth my efforts to do that, because they're going to lose their whole reputation, the whole name, because they're going to destroy them in any manner that they can see possible. When they to our demonstrations, the people come out and in our face, Zionists take pictures of everyone, and then they go home and they start looking, where does this person work? What does this person do?
Man,
and then they contact their businesses. They say, and they say, you have this person on your payroll. We're not good. You have big companies that you do business with. They're going to stop doing business. They have very many ways of intimidating and silencing. We have so many tens of thousands of Jews and more, if you would be hundreds of thousands around the world, who would be out there immediately standing up and screaming about what's happening in Gaza, but they can't. In Palestine, there was a video that just went viral, how they're beating Orthodox Jews. This last week or 2 weeks ago now, it went viral. Everybody was seeing this. They went and demonstrated, I think, in front of Netanyahu's house. They were beaten. There was another demonstration. They broke into the house in the middle of the night. This is the psychological warfare. They break into the homes, and they do this constantly. Always, they love to do it in the middle of the night. They confiscated their computers. They broke the furniture. They went into the synagogues, and we have pictures. This time I don't have pictures when they broke into the synagogues. We have pictures. We caught them. It was in Erez 7 a few years ago that they broke into a synagogue and destroyed. They made crystal now. They went in and destroyed a synagogue to revenge, because we made them. And what is our demonstrations? Simply Jews go out there and say, hey, this is not in our name. It's not a Jewish state. They're doing terrible atrocities. It's not in our name. We plead with the world, help, help, help. The people of Gaza help. They go out and demonstrate. And what is and they're never armed. You can't accuse them of being terrorists, what they claim on all the Palestinian people. And yet they viciously beat, they arrest. This is, like I say, we have this, there must be hundreds of thousands of pictures that the Zionists have, because they take them. But you can see, these are soldiers. Soldiers. This is not just, they beat them, they drive into us with cars into them. They beat them with truncheons that have lead in it that breaks the bones, but you don't see from the outside because it's rubber outside. Here, this is the ongoing army. This is not just police. That's the way they attack the Jewish people, old men. They assassinate our rabbis, young children.
This is the Israeli government?
If this would happen, in whatever country it may be, if the United States and Canada, if it would happen in any country, they would be out there and making an uproar. Netanyahu would be over there, and they would be screaming in the United Nations and demanding restitution for the state of Israel, of course. And that would be the first thing they would be asking. And here you see boys and girls who turn 17 get arrested because and are criminals. They can't travel because we refuse to go into their mandatory military service. So we get, you see, they put on Israeli uniform on them. This is to break, behind bars, to break their, psychological warfare. Here she's crying and saying he has a prayer book. This is what they do. This is what they do. The Jewish people, as one voice around the world, invariably you will find there's not every single country where there's a very seriously religious community. They are anti the establishment of the state of Israel, anti-Zionist, and they are totally. You will even notice maybe when they have these marches, the celebration of the state of Israel, the Israeli Independence Day parade. If somebody just watches it, they'll see there's so many very religious communities in New York. You see nobody's marching there. It's always non-religious or marginally religious, what they call modern religious, which means it's a euphemism for saying they have a compromised religion. They don't look at modesty. Men are not allowed to hear women singing. They have women singing on this parade. You'll see that it's not a religious. This is the Zionist state of Israel and the supporters, but the religious stand in total solidarity with the suffering of the Palestinians. Like you said, we're not saying that in our way of our approach is not militant. We don't, we're not saying that, God forbid, that it's okay to be anti-Semitic. Just the opposite. We're saying that, the result of this should be that people should look at a Jew and say, hey, he's Jewish, doesn't mean he supports that. And God forbid, we're not saying there should be violence, but to stop the violence is the solution has to be logically the stopping the occupation, because it would be illogical for a person to think that you can put a small amount of people and occupy another people. It's illogical to expect that will be peace, an ongoing peace. But on top of that, we see the history of 75 years of the state. There wasn't 10 years that there wasn't a major. 1948 was the establishment of war. 1956 was the Sinai War. 1967, and then there was the two Antifadas. There doesn't go 10 years of peace. So,
not even 10 years of peace.
Right. So I'm talking, this is the major.
Yeah.
But between those times, there was suicide bombings, this death of Jews besides every day of the Palestinian people, of Jews. So how dare they sell the world that they are the insurance policy for Jews by having a safe haven, and that people should support them because people were silent by the Holocaust. By supporting them, it's a fool's errand what they're doing. Their whole issue is beyond not foolish, it's tragic and criminal. And people are just going 75 years again and again and again. Today they're buying, we have to wipe out Hamas. What do you mean you have to wipe out? That's the 1,400 people were killed because of your oppressing of people. We're not condoning what happened to 14. So why doesn't the world step out and say, you guys, you have a game you're playing, you're doing your thing. We're not, but forgive us, we're too intelligent. Don't insult our intelligence. You have 75 years of death, of hate. So what are you going to do now? You're going to kill and kill and kill. You're not going to kill 2 million people. So you're going to kill another 10,000, God forbid, another 10, God should save us, another 10,000. Every one of these people have members, family members. They're going to have a hate embedded in them till the day they die. You think they're going to love Jews because of this? They're going to accept the occupation because you hit them with a hammer? So, people around the world should demand with their representatives and do whatever they can. They should stand up and say, please, enough is enough. This is unacceptable. This is against God.
So basically, those who took the land was basically those that were Zionists who may be descendants of Jews, but not actual Jews according to religion and practicing a religion. They have their own agenda, and what it does, from your perspective, you're saying that it made people or other groups around the world, other nationalities, hate the Jews as a whole because they felt as though it was the Jews as a whole that took the land, when really it was some Zionists who had their own agenda, who didn't keep Torah, who don't believe in, in the religion or the practice at all. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Exactly, except they incorporated, they try to make it look like they made a rabbinate and a chief rabbi, and they have some what they call modern religious Jews who are, like I said, a euphemistic for meaning that they're compromised religion, and the settlers, and these people are coming from usually non-religious families or marginally religious, and they totally don't know or don't accept because they bought into the Zionist propaganda, and but the core religious communities, that's the proof in the pudding, go around the world, the very religious communities that live and die for the word of God, they are anti the state of Israel. Why is that? If it's so important to Judaism to have a state of Israel, and the people should die for it, then how come the ones who give their lives, who pay for education, private education, we have large families, thank God, that we don't use public school. We pay for every child a phenomenal amount of money for each child's education. We pay for our kosher foods, for our clothes. It costs us our lives we give for this, and yet we are opposed to the state. Why? Why is it that it's not such an important issue for them? So you see, anybody, like I said, with common sense, should understand they're being duped, that something is wrong. Give a little time and effort to study the subject, and you will see. Like I said, the rabbi speak out you have from Lithuanian Jews. The Ivy League of Jewish Education is called BRISC. It's the name of a community that was in Europe, and they have school systems in Jerusalem and around the world. They're considered like the Ivy League of like Harvard and Yale of Judaism. And they're all the rabbis, the leading rabbis, the deans, these Rabbi Soloveitchik, were anti-Zionist. Now, that said, like Rabbi Cohen that I mentioned before, the Chafetz Chaim, he said there are rotten apples. You will always find people. So you'll find people who are educated, who are maybe they're even ordained rabbis, and yet they'll stand and they'll say we support Israel. But you'll notice that their whole lifestyle is compromised in their religious issues. That's all across the board, and we can say this with confidence. You'll find that this is a fact. The very religious around the world are anti-Zionist, except you'll find a handful always, which you can always, that falls out of it. They made the first chief rabbi was a very learned person. His name was Cook. And we say his name should be obliterated because he was very learned, and they used him as a stick to further their estate. And at his time, while he was there representing the Zionism, there was our communities had our chief rabbis who totally decried and said this man is evil. And it's wrong, and it's not Judaism. So you may meet with Jewish people that say, it's not true. There are religious people that support it. Yes, there are religious people who support it. But if you go to the core religious communities around the world, they don't support it. How come?
Let me ask you this. What's the real reason, from your opinion, what's the real reason why? Is this war more so about the other side of Gaza and all these other? Do they just want the whole entire land, not just half? Is this war about just really pushing all of the Palestinians out, sending them elsewhere, and occupying and taking over all of it? We want it all. Do you think that's what it's about?
Well, again, like I'm always reluctant to say things. We say with the facts that I said that it's not Judaism. That's like 1 and 1 is 2. Like day and day is not night is not. These are clear issues. To delve into what the different aspirations of the people in the Zionist movement, I can't say. There are definitely people that want from the river to the sea. They want to have everything. There are others who simply are looking for a way to have a peaceful, there was a great rabbi, who lived in London, and he used to say, yes, the Zionists say they want peace. We want peace. The Zionists, they want a peaceful occupation. He said, in other words, the peace that they want is a peaceful occupation. In other words, so there are people maybe who say, no, they don't need Gaza, they don't need all of that, but they just want that they should be able to live their occupation in peace. So they're trying to stop any, any opposition or people who will stand up and fight against them. So I can't tell you for certainty. There's definitely the real Zionists, the idealists, would love from the river to the sea. That's clear. And they keep on calling their mantra is the beginning of redemption. We are in exile by God. So they incorporate religion and they say eventually we believe God will make a metaphysical change in the world. This is Jewish belief, where all humanity will believe in God. They'll stop being atheists and all humanity will serve God. That's what we believe. Not become Jewish, but everybody will serve God together and God will build a temple. And that time, then we believe there'll be King, the Messiah, and Mashiach. It's different, obviously, than the Muslim concept, but that was never a problem because it's a concept in the future. Not with that we are forbidden to take any steps to bring this about, but it will be a godly miracle, a metaphysical change. But so we yearn for that there will be that there will be a nation of Israel, not the nation of Israel, what they call the state of Israel. It'll be a spirituality where everybody will serve God and all the other people around the world. It says, we say in one of the verses, all the nations will make one bond and serve God in harmony. People don't agree that that's what will happen. The Muslims say, no, they have a different belief what will be the future. So we said, who cares? You believe what you want to believe. I believe what I believe. And we live in harmony. There's no problem. And the Muslims look, because we're not allowed to take a gun in our hand to bring this. But the Zionists, there are people who have these idealists and buy into the Zionist propaganda that they're the beginning of God's redemption. Even though it's ludicrous, it's crazy, it's contradictory because we're not allowed to leave exile, we're not allowed to occupy and steal. But there's the idealists, the settlers that buy into that narrative, and they maybe want what you say, not to stop at Gaza, but to go all the way, wherever, from the river to the sea, and they have all these. Yeah. But so it's the differences amongst them. The other people, as I said, just simply want to stop anybody who's opposing them, and they would love that all the Arabs should leave, or all the Arabs should say, we love you and we want to help you grow the state, and we want to buy Israeli bonds and help you grow. That's what they would like, some other people. So it's a difference. Yeah.
It was said that, and I don't know if you've heard of this, but it was said that their focus, and shalom to everyone that's in the chat. I see you guys in there. We're just flowing here, but we'll get a chance to ask questions here pertaining to the subject here in just a second. I'm not going to hold Rabbi long. But I want to ask you this. Have you heard of or heard about that before they focused on Palestine, the Zionist focus was on Uganda and other areas. Some even said in Texas and places like that. Is that something you're familiar with?
Yes, certainly. They wanted also Patagonia. Actually, they started a Jewish settlement over there in Patagonia, next to Argentina. And because they will, look, these guys were nationalists, nothing with God. So they wanted a lush land, a productive one. Remember, this was before technology when they started in the 1890s and so forth. So they wanted a lush land to make a national home. But they were people, as I said, they were efficient and practical. So they sat down and made meetings and they said, look, to create a homeland, a land, a nationalism, you must have massive support from around the world. How are you going to get that? Oh, there's a very good solution. Go to Palestine and wave the Bible and say, hey, the children of Israel are returning to the land of Israel. And you can count on the lack of knowledge of many of the Jews. Most Jews, unfortunately, are not religious. And so you can count on the lack of knowledge. And they'll tell them you can have the cake and eat it. You don't even have to practice the religion. Come along. We can have the land and everything's hunky-dory. And they'll get the evangelistic Christians who are going to back them and support them because they also say in the Bible. And I meet many evangelistic Christians and they say, oh, shalom, we support you. I guess, oh, wait a second. Please. You know who I am. You don't mean that what you just said, but they say that we want to help you, have that land. I say, excuse me, this is not what the Bible means that we should go there. And I try to talk some sense that some of them can hear, others, they just know they're supporting Israel blindly. It's the children of Israel, and they can't fathom that the Palestinian people are against them because their land is stolen. They only think because they hate Jews. So it's really, it's just a very sad. It would be comical if it wouldn't be so.
Right. And I'm laughing because we have these conversations all the time about and it you kind of went into it, because I was going to ask you a question about, a lot of, especially Christians today, evangelicals, and I believe that some do it from a level of ignorance, but I think some of them do it also just from a level of, hey, these children of Israel, and they have Bible passages that they push on you, and there's big time, preachers, John Hagee and all these other guys that just push this, hey, support Israel, give your money. But it seems as though the money, if you can trace it, it's probably going to Zionism more so than it is going to the cause that they're saying.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, let's not be very cynical, but obviously the people who are collecting the money are also most probably having a nice income, but also it goes to Zionism. Of course, that's what it's all about. And it's so look, I like to judge people.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Everybody wants to judge people, in a good light. So we want to say that many people mean well. They really mean well, and they feel the suffering of Jews by the Holocaust, that the world was silent. So they mean well, and even they say it's because of their religious reasons. But I'm not saying that they're bad. I was saying that unfortunately they're being conned and misled, and the Zionists is the essence of evil. It's a movement of the Satan. They're really occupying something that's totally illegitimate, illegal, and there's no justification. And their justification, the most critical justification for them, is the Bible and the words of God, that it was ours. And they just buttress that with that the people are opposed to them as anti-Semitic. So they use the Bible, God, and on top of that they use the flip side, that it's only the anti-Semitism that opposes them. On both of these issues, we say it's patently false, it's corrupt, it's totally not the truth. Please just step aside, think about it. Think about the history. Think about how Jews flourished in Iraq and all these lands. We had communities. Where are these communities today? It all disappeared because of Zionism, and not when the Zionist state was ratified in 1948. Because a lot of times, one of the talking points of the Zionists is they say, "Hey, there was a massacre in Hebron of Jews in 1924." So we say yes, but we have the documents. We have the rabbis who learned. In Hebron, Al-Khalil, it's called in Arabic. They studied there. There was a rabbinical college, and they said they were studying there. It was peace. The Zionists were already agitating in Jerusalem and Al-Quds and different places. And all of a sudden, this is what we have a transcribed writing of Rabbi Baruch Kaplan of blessed memory, who was a very distinguished rabbi who came to the United States and reestablished called Beth Jacob schools for girls, school system of hundreds of thousands of Jewish girls around the world, Beth Jacob. Anyway, he came and he wrote, he said, I was a student in Hebron. I was by the massacre, he said. All of a sudden, we used to take strolls in the Arab neighborhoods. We lived together in total harmony. All of a sudden, these Zionists came on bicycles with guns. And the rabbis said, they informed the rabbis, the students say, hey, you know what's going on in the street? So the rabbi said, bring them here. Let's talk to them. Rabbi Epstein, of blessed of memory, his blood should be avenged, called them, and they didn't want to come. They didn't even respect the Jewish community, of course, and the rabbis, so they didn't come. So they went out looking for them. They met them. The rabbis went out and met with these guys, and they said, what are you doing here in Hebron now? So they said, oh, we came to protect you. So they said, woe is to us that you're protecting us. And it didn't take long that the Arabs were seeing what was happening in other parts of Palestine, so they became agitated. And again, we're not condoning, there was a massacre. The Arabs got together and decided they're going to attack the Jewish community. It's terrible. I mean, it's beyond words. And when this Rabbi Kaplan talks about it, he cries when he talked about it. He said what happened was they made a massacre, they killed Rabbi Epstein and many others. Rabbi Kaplan was saved because he was dorming in an Arab house. So the Arab locked the doors so they shouldn't be able to come in, and his or others of his friends were saved that way by this Arab who was staying in it. But many were killed. So he said, so who was responsible? Yes, it was the Arabs, who made the pogrom, who did that. But who was responsible for this? It was purely Zionism. It was in the 1924s already. The same thing is with Arab communities around the world, in Yemen, in Iraq, in all the countries, Jews were flourishing. They had Jewish communities. Zionism came and started saying, "Oh, it's Judaism. Jews want to take over the land." So the Arabs started looking at Jews with fear, with concern. And it came out. Not only that, there's a step further. There's a book called Ben Gurion Scandals by Giladi. His name is. And he wrote a book, this fellow, that he was a Jewish guy who lived in Iraq. And while he was growing up, he decided as a teen, to rebel like many teens do. And he decided to become a Zionist. So he joined the Zionists when his father begged him not to go to these guys. But eventually he joined them, and he later became totally disenchanted from the Zionists. And he wrote a book. He writes about how they were caught, the Zionists, putting bombs in synagogues, that in order that it should explode and the Jews should think that the Arabs are doing this, should panic and run up to Palestine, because the Zionists wanted cannon fodder. They wanted people there and they put these guys in settlements and in order to grow their state. So there's more and more, there's just so many stories we can tell you about what the Zionism did and how they tried to create a hate of other people, vilify other people and support for them as if they're representing God and godliness, when what they are representing is pure evil.
Yes, there was a situation that just happened a few days ago in Indianapolis, Indiana. I don't know if you heard about it, but there was since all of this stuff has been going on between Palestine and all this war that's been, and all the images and the media propaganda, there was I think she may have been Palestinian American, but she just was fed up with everything she was seeing on the media. So she was looking for the first synagogue she could find, and in Indianapolis, and the landmark of which she was looking for was the Star. Of course, that's but what happened was she found a location and she drove her car through what she thought was a Jewish synagogue, when in fact it was a school, Israelite school of universal practical knowledge. It was
right,
an Israelite school, and
right.
she drove through there, but the agenda and the attempt, and they were having a interview with one of the teachers there, Moray's there, and he said that since the war started, they've been getting their building vandalized like left and right, because of they believe in showing the Star, of what they appear to be there. I know you guys, you wear it proudly, with the big protesting against, and I think you have it on now.
Yes, I do.
But what was your I guess your thought about it? I guess the media driving that, it's almost can be a thing where they want, and I don't want to sound cynical and diabolical, but it's kind of the way I feel about it. My feeling is they want to see what happens over there kind of filter over here in some ways, because it keeps the attention off of really what's going on. You have a lot of countries and a lot of leaders that have pulled back and made public statements in their non-support of Netanyahu and the state of Israel, of what they're doing to Palestine. And even some of the top ambassadors are resigning and making statements saying, hey, this is not what this is about. Israel is wrong and they shouldn't be doing it. Of course, America is going to stand behind them and all this other stuff. But what are your thoughts about all of that? I guess this is kind of be a segue for segueing out into questions, but give your statement and share, and then we'll kind of segue out and maybe take some questions, and then you can give some last statements after the questions.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we can always, we in our prayers, the high holiday prayers, we say that God should give, one of the prayers is that God should give into the hearts and minds of the leaders, kings and leaders of the world, that they should strive for peace and not war. So, we even believe that, what put in the minds of leaders is is also from God. Again, we always say a person will answer and will be responsible for the good and for the evil that they did. But there is a concept that God puts into their minds, that they should create a war or so forth. So we hope. I mean, would it be that the world leaders are waking up and seeing that it's just untenable, it's unacceptable, that it's really beyond everything what people call humanely call godly to allow what's happening in Gaza, and they should stop that. And of course, yeah, we are happy when, I mean, it's very important that the world leaders should see in other parts of the world that there shouldn't be, anti-Semitic attacks and anti-Jewish attacks, anti-Muslim attacks, and people should be, very leaders should be constantly urging people not to, God forbid, start taking revenge. God forbid, on one community or the other. But I want you to know that, just we mentioned this, Israel had a policy, the Zionists, and we put out a book, another interesting book called Traditional Torah Opposition to Zionism. Well, we have a lot of the quotes of the great rabbis through the generations who fought Zionism, and then we have the Zionists themselves. But in the period of the Holocaust, for instance, the Zionists, we have a lot of the Zionists, unfortunately, actually colluded with the Nazis because they wanted Jews to go up to Palestine. So when the Nazis closed down all Jewish newspapers in Europe, where they were in control, but they let Zionist papers flourish. And then afterwards, they did other things. When the rabbis wanted to meet with Hitler and different people, because now Jewish teaching is, when we suffer, we try to placate. First we pray to God, the peace, and then but Zionists go with no, we're going to show you, never again. So they stopped the rabbis from going. There's a lot of stories, but one of the issues was that the Jewish people made attempts to save the Jews, and the Zionists actually thwarted the efforts, and they said the more the Jews are killed, the more land they'll get, because they said to the victor goes the spoils. In other words, they thought, that the West is going to win the war, and they said the more the people, there's more blood, the benefit is for them, because they're going to give them, they're going to help them establish a land in Palestine. And we have their quotes in this book. We have their quotes of them. A lot of these quotes are above and beyond. You couldn't believe it. It's beyond comprehension. Here you have Yitzhak Greenbaum was the chairperson of the Jewish Agency. First of all, they asked him that if he should give money from the coffers of the Zionists, which they were very rich then by the Second World War. And he said, when they asked me, couldn't you give money out of the UJA? People should know, United Jewish Appeal. That's a massively big organization. For the rescue, they should give money out of the United Jewish Appeals funds for the rescue of Jews in Europe. I said, no. I say again, no. One should resist this wave which pushes the Zionist activities to secondary importance. Let them say that, I'm quoting them further, let them say that I am anti-Semitic. Let them say what they want. I will not demand that Jewish Agency allocates a sum of 300,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 pounds sterling to help European Jewry. I think anybody who does that, who demands such a thing, is performing an anti-Zionist act. In other words, they need it for Zionism, not to save Jews. And furthermore, he said, and this is a quote, one goat, he said, in the land of Israel is more important than an entire Jewish community in Europe. In other words, they just have to further their plans. One goat is worth it whole. He said, and I'm quoting, this is so important. He said, I'll have to find that. He said that I mentioned the money. He said the more the people die in Europe, the more they'll get. So Netanyahu came when they bombed, when they shot in France, in the supermarket, if you remember, a few years ago. So Netanyahu came and he said to the people over there, hey, he flew to France and he said, everybody, let's go up to come up to Palestine, because what they love, they live and breed on anti-Semitism. If there's attacks on Jews, so then they say, see, You're suffering here. Come up to Palestine. That's where we will protect you. So anti-Semitism is a boon for them. They live and breathe on anti-Semitism because the more than they could say, you see that we have to have. So they cause anti-Semitism, and then they say to people, come up and support us. We have so much more, especially about the Holocaust. How they colluded with the Nazis and they opposed the saving of Jews.
The Zionist was in cahoots with the Nazis.
We have that colluded with the Nazis.
That's a clip.
And everybody can go to our side. We invite people to go to our site. We invite people to look at a book called The Holocaust Victims Accused, and you will see there was in Life magazine a series of articles when there was the Nuremberg trials. Eichmann was in there, and Life went and they interviewed him, and they came out with a report that was astounding. And there's a book called 51 Documents from Lenny Brenner, and you see, and he wrote all these articles that the Life magazine did, and he wrote from Rabbi Dovid Weiss, of blessed memory, who's from our communities. Rabbi Weissmandel tried to save the Jews, and when the Nazis had already killed millions in Poland and Ukraine, and they were coming they were in a third of Slovakia, and Jews were still alive, and Hungary was not invaded yet. This was 1944. So he came and he went secretly to meet with Eichmann, who was the head of the gas chambers, and he went and he met secretly, and he said, listen, I'll pay you for all the Jews, that you should not kill the Jews. And of course, a massive amount and he said, you see the writings on the wall already that you're going to lose the war. I'll pay you, give you money, say, let the Jews don't kill. And they stopped killing in Auschwitz for a period of like a month, and to give him time to bring the money. And he went to the Zionist organization because he needed a massive amount of money to save these Jews. And they refused to give him the money, as I just quoted. They said, no, we're not going to give you money. And they said, on the contrary, the more the Jews die there, the better it is for them, because they said, like I said, to the victor goes the spoils. And it's in our documents, the victor goes the spoils. In other words, the more blood that's shed, they'll give the Jewish people a better piece of land and so forth. It's beyond comprehension. I'm not saying, mind you, that all Zionists was of this mindset. I'm talking about the leadership. I could just tell about the leadership.
I see Callie is active. Put a statement here. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but said that a Jewish man died at a protest in California.
Yes,
I don't know if you heard about it, but I guess the question, there was another question in here about pertaining to that. Ace said Callie, but no details on who he was fighting with. So I don't know. Do you have any? Have you heard anything?
I don't have more information. They say, the news that I've heard was, and I can tell you this happens to us. I was just 2 days ago, we were in Manhattan. The Israelis were making a rally in support of Israel, Zionists, and we went and we stood, basically the police let us only come like a block away from there. We were standing there and demonstrating, and the Zionists were in our face, coming, waving the flag in our face. They would have attacked this person, but there was a lot of police there, but they were waving the flag in our face. The police have to keep on cordoning off areas, and we have this constantly. Whenever we're demonstrating, we'll have the Zionists. If it wouldn't be for the New York police or whatever police we are, or whatever state we are, if they wouldn't protect us, they would kill us. And they say so, and they brutally attack us. And a lot of times the police see that they can't control it, and they make a double barricade. And this is what happens every time we demonstrate. So they came in our face. They said that's what happened over there. Now, again, I'm not condoning his killing. Let's understand. Yeah. But what we understand is that the Zionists were having their rally in support of Israel, and they had the Palestinian people were making their support of Palestine. And a guy came with a flag, waving it in them. And one of the people knocked him with a loudspeaker. But again, I'm totally what we got from some news reports. I don't know if it was ABC or some one news reports. The people just told me, so I didn't see it. What people were telling me that she knocked. I think it was a lady. I'm not sure. Knocked him with a speaker. with a megaphone. By the way, the megaphones are also plastic. They're not. It's not like it's a police baton, And she knocked him away, and he fell over, and he knocked his head, and tragically he died. But again, it's not the condoning, and obviously it was wrong, but I think it was more or less a tragic accident, and it's just one of the link of the long chain of this Nakba. One more link of the long chain of Nakba that reaches America. Zionism creates anti-Semitism, creates hate, creates havoc, repercussions of turmoil around the world. And here you just see a death that you can attribute to the fact that there is a Zionist state of Israel. There wouldn't be that, this wouldn't have happened, obviously, right? That's clear. Yeah. So I'm just saying it's just one more of this tragic issue.
Okay, Rabbi Weiss, I'm going to ask this question because I do believe this question is coming from a good place. I don't think it's coming from a bad place. But y'all's son wanted to ask a question, and I know we've already talked about prophecy and what prophecy says about Israel going into the land, and the agenda of what happened with the Zionists with the land. But he asked a question. He asked, I guess, where would you believe, or maybe you can give Bible scripture to this, or your thoughts and opinion. But he was asking a question about the 11 tribes of Israel today, because that's kind of a big question that everybody want to know. What's your thoughts on where they around the world, where they, and that type of thing?
Right. Judaism is an interesting religion. We were 600,000 men from the age of 20 to 60 at the time we left Egypt. Besides the families, the ones that were counted were the men from the age of 20 to 60, and there were 600,000 of them, and they were all their families, all the elders, the younger, and women and children. So basically, we went out. God took us out. They saw the miracles, how God took us out of Israel. It wasn't just a person came and told the narrative. This was handed down. And they went to saw the splitting of the sea. They went on to Mount Sinai. Then we were tribes because we were divided into tribes. If somebody studies the Bible, because Abraham, by the way, Adam and Eve, and then Adam and Eve had a grandson, Mr. There was then Noah, and these people saw one the other. Shem, the son of Noah, saw his great grandfather. And so the story of the creation was handed down from mouth to mouth. Maimonides speaks about this. There was never a gap in history. And it says a person does not give over falsehood to his children. That's what Maimonides says. That's a given. You won't tell a false thing to your child. You want him to know the truth. You're not going to try to fool him. So the history of the creation of the earth till today, there was never a gap. We're a people of the book. Everybody stood around Mount Sinai, these million people, they saw God giving the Torah. They saw it was passed to Joshua and then the nations, but there was 12 tribes because Jacob, the grandson, Abraham had Isaac and Ishmael, and then Isaac had Yitzchak, Jacob. Jacob had 12 tribes. Now, from the 12 tribes, they were by Mount Sinai. They went up to the land as was required by God. God made a miracle. The walls of Jericho sunk in, which everybody saw. Nobody refuted. It wasn't somebody personal saying this. And so I'm just mentioning this because the Zionism totally leaves out conveniently that we're in exile, that we're not allowed to leave exile, and they have no connection to this going into Israel. But when we went into Israel at that time, we were divided into 12 tribes. And across the sea split, it was also divided into the tribes. We went to and then when we were later, King Solomon, there was King David, and King Solomon built the temple. Then he had after he passed on, he had a son, Rechavam. That was the son who took over, and it was divided the kingdom because of a decree of God into the 10 tribes and 2 tribes. It was Yehuda and Benjamin and Yehuda were the 2 tribes, and the others were under the rule of Yeravam ben Avat, his name was. So basically, since then, it was divided into 10 tribes and 2 tribes. When they were sent into exile, they were sent in different waves, and the 10 tribes went differently, separately than the 2 tribes. So as a general rule, I mean, there was mixed into these two tribes. You have to understand that people, they were from different tribes, were living here, living there. But as a general rule, there were the 10 tribes and the 2 tribes. And the 10 tribes, we believe, somehow went to an obscure place, and we don't have any connection with them as a general rule. It sounds beyond comprehension, but that's the way we believe it, that they went off into a hidden place. And so most of us are from these 2 tribes of Yehuda and Binyamin. That's the Jewish narrative, the Jewish belief, that we are as a majority from Judah. That's why Jews, Judah and Binyamin.
So basically, they're still in exile, shouldn't be in the land.
There's somewheres. We don't know where they are, these 10 tribes.
I got you.
The lost 10 tribes. I think you even know, you studied the lost 10 tribes. It's not 11, but the lost 10 tribes.
Okay.
So so that's basically it.
I got you. Okay. Yeah, I figured that there. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, another question. According to Torah, when the Israelites return to the land, would it be peace? Would it be peace, basically? That's your thoughts on that?
Oh, when we will return?
Yeah, when the scattered return,
because that's going to happen not with human intervention. That's going to be the Almighty, who we believe who rules the world. You have billions of DNA, and our bodies are looking at clockwork, because it's miraculous how the whole world is living and breathing and going, because there's a Almighty who's above time and space, and we cannot comprehend the greatness. He will make a metaphysical change where all humanity will go up and serve God. It will not be a future state of Israel that's kosher. No. There won't be a state of Israel. There will be the servitude of God by the Mashiach. We believe we'll be carrying with him all the time the Torah. It will be served, and it will be the whole world serving God. That's what we believe will eventually happen. So it'll be a metaphysical change. One of our rabbis, who was a great rabbi, Rabbi Beck of blessed memory, used to say, you can't show a blind person, you can't explain color to him because he never saw if he was born blind. He said this concept, this metaphysical change, we don't comprehend how it will be, what will be, but it will be this change in the world, basically.
I got you. All right. I think that'll be it. I really appreciate you. You went over longer than I expected. I was thinking about an hour, but all is well once again. Someone asking about the books. Do you have the books there? I know you mentioned about 3 books that was on the website. So
you contact our website,
okay,
and you can get them. They're not expensive books, and they're just documents. Are very interesting. This traditional Torah, opposition to Zionism. There's the book the rabbis speak out. And the other book that's called The Holocaust Victims Accused, I'm not sure if it's in publication now, but it's definitely there. And if it's not, then tell the guys on our site that should get down to work and make sure that it's in public. The Holocaust Victims Accused. It was published by the author is Rabbi Schoenfeld of blessed memory, who and so it wasn't really originally our book, that we kept on printing it because it's so critical to understand, by the Holocaust. They always speak about the Holocaust when their hands are covered in the blood of the Holocaust. They colluded, they thwarted efforts of saving Jews. It's unbelievable what they did. They even bombed ships that came in from refugees where they were caught. The Haganah bombed ships that came into the ports, I think of Haifa, Atlanta was called, because they wanted to make a statement. So thousands of people died because they didn't want them to come. They wanted to blame it on the British. And there's a lot of other stories. Just one more little issue. This Dr. Schoenfeld was the head of the rescue committee in Britain, under the chief rabbi over there, and he wrote in the London Times in 1960s, I believe. He said that he wrote, I'm quoting him, not word for word because I don't have it in front of me now, but he stated, he said, people accuse Great Britain of not trying to help the Jews. He said, I'll tell you, he was the head of the rescue committee. And he said, I could tell you that there was a meeting where India, the Dominion of India, was under British colonization, and he said they were at the time ready and willing. They said to take in people who can escape from the Nazis. And he said there was a meeting of over 100 MPs of Parliament in Britain, and they said they're ready to save the Jews, and the Zionists came along. And it's from the London Times. It's not. I'm quoting. It's exactly what he writes there. He said they said no. We only want you to send. You have to include that they should send them to Palestine. So they said they're trying to save the Jews from death, certain death, and so India is ready to take them. And they said no. You have to include Palestine. So there was a whole debate. And there was over 100 MPs had signed on. They're going to help. They're going to take in. India was ready to take in the Jews, and the whole movement died because the Zionists said only Palestine. It's unbelievable. It's vicious. It's like murder. It's beyond words. So you just want you to know that's in that book, The Holocaust Victims Accused. And so the Zionists use the Holocaust, and they unabashedly use the Holocaust. They use anti-Semitism when their hands are covered in blood of Jews. My grandparents died in Auschwitz. My family's from Hungary, my father's family, and they could have been saved. The Rabbi Weissmandel wrote a book called Min HaMetzer, From the Depth of Our Pains, and I think it's translated already in English. And he wrote about how they, like I said, they secretly almost got the Jews saved. They stopped killing Jews for a time, but the Zionists intervened. They refused to give them money, so then they continued killing. The Nazis said, "You don't bring the money." So they could have saved the Jews, but instead, he was arrested. They got them arrested. The Zionists behind his back got the people who were working on this arrested in order to stop this plan. And a book, Perfidy, was written by Ben Hecht. That you can definitely get online. But that's not from us. But it's about the story.
I got you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for coming on once again. Again, like I said, you know, there's when you jump on, it's very always interesting and intriguing information always shared. Definitely, I appreciate it. I hope that you guys continue to stay encouraged with the protests of things out there, because truthfully being honest, there's some things that you can say and get away with it that I can't say. and without being viewed a certain kind of way. You understand what I'm saying?
100%. That's 100%. Yeah.
So
that's why we know it's our obligation to go out and speak up, because we can say, and we have to say, and we do say with God's help.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, thank you once again for jumping on. I'll be in contact. I'll be sending you the link as well to the YouTube, to this channel. And anytime, peace and blessings to you and your family, as well as next time I'm in New York, I gotta hit you up so I can come through. So yeah. I'll be looking to do that here sometime in 2024.
Yeah, and I urge your followers that please spread the word, especially to the people in Palestine. They should know that the people are supporting them, with our hearts with them, and give them courage. God should protect them, and really, and whoever you can have influence on, politicians, on people on the world, speak up. Don't be silent. Inshallah, God help a free Palestine.
That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Talk with you later.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. That was once again Rabbi Weiss, or Rabbi Weiss, however you say it. Man, I mean, it's the book he mentioned is selling for $900+. Yes, may Rabbi Weiss continue to strengthen, to speak out. Thank you for hosting. Hey, man, thank y'all for supporting. I thank y'all for understanding. Shout out to my sister Carol in the building. Hey, y'all know, I remember when I very first had them rabbis on, y'all was looking crazy. Y'all like, man, what's going on? No. But over a period of time, being patient. And I really just wanted to show everyone there are differences, just like within our community. There are differences in thought process, beliefs, and things like that. And some people do have traditional upbringings of certain things, who they were, who they are, just like many of us. had traditional upbringings and things like that. So it's always great to be able to say, it's nothing wrong being able to sit down, dialogue, have conversation, and really just, have a discussion. Doesn't always have to be about things that's being talked about in other areas on other platforms and things like that. There's a lot of that out there. I've been doing this for years. When it comes down to just sit downs, dialogues, I'm the Barnabas. I'm gonna be the guy, the middle guy. I'm gonna go talk to people, find out, sit down, and I'm very comfortable with who I am, and they know who I am and what I believe. And so everyone can't do it. Everyone doesn't have a desire to do it. But I've been doing evangelism work a long time, and so I look forward to doing that and really just bringing information to everybody, especially to this community, so that way you can really see what's going on, what's out there. I want you to hear both sides of the story, and I try to ask questions as much as possible. Some questions I know that people aren't familiar with, and that's just what it is. Being in this walk as in Israel, as well as just really being out here talking to Christians, sitting down with Muslims, just dialoguing and building. I know certain things that they just aren't unaware that they are unaware of. Everybody's not aware, y'all. I really want to stress that, some people, they try to hide. Some people, they may know and may not want to share, but there's genuine people out here, even within the Jewish community, that many of them been lied to too. Many of them have been lied to as well. So some things, some conversations they're not privy to. It's no different than someone that's in an affluent community. Their father is a billionaire. They don't understand when you're talking to them about, poverty and how to pay a light bill or where I'm gonna get money from gas. They don't have a clue about that. They don't know what that type of struggle is like. So it's the same thing here of just really trying to share information and conversation. Is never a thought of compromise on my end, but it is definitely I'm very attentive. I have the utmost agenda and I'm intentional with sitting down, getting an understanding, so that way you can be informed as a community, so that way you're not uninformed, and that way you can make a decision, because being informed about things is going to hold you more accountable than not being informed. So thank you. Let me get some shout outs in the chat. I don't know if anybody got a Q&A, a question for me. If you have any questions, let me know, and maybe I can help you. Yason in the building, Skinny Man, Alexandra Leggett, shout out to you, Ace, Elder Gilbert, what's going on? Elder Fenton Ramsey, Stay on Fire Ministry, Mora Katura, Mora Dakota, Kim King, shalom to you as well, Dwayne E. Butler, Elder Casey, Sister Yvette Rivera, Ninja Fire, what's going on? Tijuana, what's going on? Who else is in here? Let me see here. Sister Cote Vanessa, what's going on? Apostle Buji Mark, what's going on? Borrowed Time, thank you for tuning in. Thank everybody for tuning in. Again, Sister Kara, my dear sister, Sister Anna Berry, tuning in. Yo, tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Callie is active. Thank you for tuning in. Beat Bros, Elder Rams, Elder Eric Johnson. Thank you for tuning in. Chukuk, I hope I'm saying that right. Chukwumika, Samuel. Shout out to you as well. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. I'm going through the list here. Ifo Kosi. Shout out. What's going on, my brother, here in Atlanta? I think that's about it for as I can see. Yeah, definitely. Elder Casey put the link in the website, link to their website, Rabbi Weiss' website. They got a lot of books on there with a lot of quotables from a lot of the Zionists, and when it comes down to the state of Israel. Excuse me, they have a lot of exclusive information that we don't have, that we have not even come across, and they have it compiled in books. Okay, so that's definitely even some of the statements and some of the minutes from the 1948 establishment of Israel with the Zionists and everyone else who were there at that meeting. They have the minutes, meaning the conversation from there. Yeah, man, they got some stuff on there, man. You know, they got some stuff on there, and they're putting it out. They're one of the and this what blew me away, y'all. That what blew me away was the fact that the ADL has put them on the list and have declared and viewed them as one of the top hate groups. I mean, and these folks are Jewish. That blew me away. I was bugging. I'm like, what? Like, man, I almost fell out my chair when I saw that. I don't know about y'all, but that tripped me out. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, what? Like, y'all, wait a minute. Y'all, man, they why? And I'm talking about they not even talking about folks kissing their boots. They not even out here talking about none of the folks gonna be their slave. They just out here saying, hey, it ain't right, y'all killing folks. And we know who y'all are. We know what y'all set up, and we know that y'all done fooled everybody. And that's pretty much. I mean, come on, man. If you listen, y'all, if you came in toward the end of the live interview, or you came in, I don't even want to call it an interview, it was a discussion. You know, if you didn't watch it from the very beginning, before you put a comment or before you pass any type of judgment, go watch it from the beginning. And that way, you know, we got a lot of new subscribers, and thank y'all for liking, subscribing. I thank everybody for sharing it. If you would, if you don't think it's robbery, I would appreciate it. Everybody like, subscribe, and also share on your YouTube, on your Facebook, as well as share in all of the groups that you're a part of on Facebook or any other platform, just to put it out there for information's sake, so that people can get, you know, be informed of really what's going on out here. But it's heavy, man. It's heavy. I mean, he even talked about how they stole somebody else's land. They took somebody's land. You know, they took somebody's land, man. And this was another key thing. Another key thing, he said, don't be afraid of anti-Semitism or the label. And with that, it wasn't that he was encouraging you to go do some foolishness. You know? Kirk Snyder, I don't know who that is. Who's Kirk Snyder? If so, I'll reach out to him. But I don't know who Kirk Snyder is. Yeah, I don't know who Kirk Snyder is, but that's definitely that was something that was interesting. You know, him saying, "Hey, don't be afraid." They're using the system to push and advance this whole thing, this anti-Semite stuff. And he said, listen, fight against that. Don't be afraid to be called that or be labeled such. And they even talked about they're out there protesting. And Zionists out there taking pictures of folks, tracing and finding out where these folks live, getting their phone number, their workplace information, calling their job, saying, look, we're not going to do business with you if this person is still hired by you. Yo, man, listen, man, we're talking about, man, look, I'm just saying, y'all. I'm just saying. All right. It reminds me of Hydra from those Captain America movies. Yep, created chaos. Absolutely. He said that too. He talked about created chaos. Understand the Jewish Jesus TBN he has a YouTube channel. He's Jewish. Okay, I'll check him out. Thank you for that, brother. All right, brothers and sisters, I hope everybody good. If y'all don't have no questions for me, we're gonna get up out of here. It's once again, I appreciate everybody, man. I thank you all I think all of the Ruach field Israelites. I thank you all for your support. I thank you all for your understanding. Thank you all for rocking with your boy for quite some time. Many of you have been maybe from the beginning. Many of you just not jumping on. Many of you, the last 2 years. But anyway, I thank you all for your support. You don't have to jump. You don't have to be on here, but you do. And I thank you for your support, man. I really do. Dr. Ace, Dr. Eric, are you talking about L Hike? Ace, are you talking about Dr. L Hike? Yeah, Dr. L Hike been on here a couple of times. I am planning on another interview when his time makes available, but look forward to once do you plan on interviewing him in the midst of this conflict? I'm thinking about it. He like Rabbi Weiss, he's not really a religious Jew. So, but, and this question for Ace, this response, Abaca Jones, thank you, man. Thank you for supporting. He's not a religious Jew. He's more scientific in that type of thing. But I know when once the war popped off, he put up a post saying that if you're supporting Palestine, you basically a hypocrite because the Israeli government treat their people the same way they're treating the Palestinians. That's what Aaron Elhike said. So I may reach out to him to see just to get his thoughts about everything. Like I said, they are all not the same, man. They have a different, all of them have a different perspective. They have a different belief, different background, all that good stuff. All right. Will you get a Limba Kohen from Alpha to come? Yes. Kohen Hamadishi, he's been on my platform. I think he might have been, I might have been the first person he came on the platform. I talk to him all the time. So me and Kohen Hamadishi relationship is a little more different because I talk to him all the time. In fact, he shared some things with me that's going on that I can't share. So I'm not going to go into that. You just have to wait and see what's what. All right. But I just recently talked to him last week. Okay. He may not want to speak during this. I was just curious. Yeah, you never know. El Hike is he's a maverick, man. He say stuff he don't care about. He's not politically correct, so he'll just say stuff. So you just never know. You know what I'm saying? Benjamin Freeman wrote about the land stealing. Yep. Well, brothers and sisters, if you are in the Atlanta area, definitely come fellowship with us on Shabbat. This coming Shabbat. You can also hit me up in my email at boomchurchint@gmail.com, boomchurchint@gmail.com if you're looking for a place to assemble. Or if you have a group that you're assembling with and just want to be a part of a community, Boom is open their arms and open their doors to many. And so we are definitely we've definitely been blessed. The Father has really blessed us. If you're in Jacksonville, Florida, if you're in Houston, Texas, if you're in Eastman, Georgia, around the Macon area, if you are in Akron, Ohio, or the Cleveland area, if you are in Midland, Texas, if you're in Orlando, Florida, and if you're in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, shoot me an email or near there and hit me up, man, and I will make sure that you get the assembly locations of information. Let's see here. Is there some Jewish people in music you can get over here? Well, I've interviewed Nassim Black. I interviewed him on the platform. And but Nassim he's well, let me see. He may be, excuse me, y'all, I got a cold. He may be supporting. I don't want to say because I don't know. I just know I on his Instagram, you know, he's definitely always talking about prayer, you know, for the land and what's going on over there, which is, you know, so I'll just leave it. I'll reach out to him and see what's up, just kind of see where, you know, things are. But he's been interviewed on this platform. Yaquaba, yeah, you close to Jackson. Where you at? Where you at? Where near Jacksonville, Florida are you? Yeah. Yeah, Yaquaba. Oh, Brevard. Okay, yeah. That's like Daytona area. Yeah, you like in between. You like in between Jacksonville and Orlando, I think. I think that's where it is. I think that's Daytona. Is that Daytona? Sound familiar. Can't remember if it's Brevard. Is that Daytona? Yeah, Brevard County, yeah. Oh, this thing got a delay. Raul, aka Paul Shalom. Is that Brevard? Is that Daytona? All right, y'all. I'll look it up. Yo, listen, just shoot me an email. Again, boomchurchint.org. Shoot me an email. And you know, if you guys are looking for a place to worship, location to worship, shoot me an email. And we'll go from there, right? Salute to everybody. Salute Israel. Blessings to you all. And I pray that the Most High continue to keep you, all right? Absolutely. To the shit online. No, it's closed. All right. This is